Welcome, my friends, to Peace, Love, and Bring It Back, the podcast that never ends, where we gather our clan and talk about the peace and love in our lives, the difficulties along the journey, and how we rise up from them. We will experience a little thing I call Kluberty together, and by the end of the show, we're going to find our sweet spot. I'm Uncle Dave, and our transformation starts right here. Hey now, and how are you doing? I want to welcome you to the next episode of Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. Today's guest, I'm just so excited about because it's one of my favorite people in the entire world, Stacy Simbrom. She's a hero of mine. She helped me through some of the darkest moments of my life. Sometimes you hold that sacred space. Stacy has sacred space, and I am so glad that you joined us. Stacy, how you doing this morning?
Good. This has been like a year in the planning.
At least, yeah.
It's been a year of you saying, okay, when are you coming on? Not yet. When are you coming on? Not yet. And then me calling you and going, okay, it's time. Okay. So it's time.
Okay, it's awesome. So today's going to be great. Stacy does so much, and once you meet Stacy, you can never forget Stacy. It really, her energy is tremendous. The talents that she has to help move energy is really incredible. So, Stacy, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Stacy Simbrom. I don't know what I do, but I know I'm just I'm a person that tries to live in just being present. I work with, or I'm lucky enough to collaborate with individuals that we just try to make each other more comfortable, and we try to be involved in healing.
Okay, you're the one who actually helped understand the Uncle Dave part.
Right.
Why don't you explain to the audience what Uncle Dave is to you?
I think my answer probably 6 months ago, or certainly when we met each other, would have been really, really different. Mm-hmm. I think at that point in my life, I went in wanting to have control and kind of sculpt things and have things like I wanted it to look this way. I believe right now, as who I sit, I think the best way that I can be involved in something like that is just to hold presence in it. And holding space is such an interesting concept. I think it just means walking in like a blank slate and just spending time looking at your eyes and listening to every sound that comes out of your mouth and listening to every gesture that you make, and not going in and trying to direct any part of that, but simply taking it all in like an art exhibit. Mm-hmm. And as I remember, you were probably one of the seeds that helped me to discover that. You were easy to love. You've always been very, very easy to love.
For some people.
And just seeing what?
For some people.
For some people. And being curious as to, what loving Uncle Dave looks like. And the more that happened, the more that space was created, the more I saw Uncle Dave develop. And then get bigger and bigger and more expansive and more expansive. And I'm really hoping that answered your question.
Oh yeah, it's a way to answer the question. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely grown. I'm definitely not the person that when we met 6+ years ago, and the growth. I mean, I didn't waste 6 years. There's been huge growth. I mean, even in the past 2 years, with you and with myself, I've grown. The past 2 weeks have been a little bit challenging for me, as you know. But I look back on all the things that I've done, and I'm like, I couldn't have handled that 2 years ago. No matter how well I thought I would have been, I wouldn't have handled it as well as I'm doing right now. And that's what it's all growth. And your growth has been tremendous as well. I mean, you didn't just pop up now where you're at. And why don't you talk about some of the resources that you bring in?
Can you be a little more clear with that? Because I think I want to take it in one direction, and I'm not sure if that's the direction.
Take it whatever direction you want. It's not whatever direction I want. This is your episode. I don't care what it goes on.
No, what do I do? It's changed over the years. It's changed so much. God, I use sound and frequency. So I have singing bowls and gongs and things like that. I bring my dog to work. So I utilize the space of having another judgmental being with me a lot of the time. Recently, and through a mutual friend of ours, a gentleman named Stephen T. Licardi, I'm working a lot with found poetry and expressing that way. Altered books, art, collage, gardening, silence. I think back to 2018, and if somebody left me in a quiet room, I thought it was torture. Mm-hmm. Now silence is so full of sound, I can't stand it. It's like there's so much going on. So it's I just try to bring all of those things, and then be curious as to what other people are bringing, and being curious to engage what they bring too, to the best of my ability.
Right. That's one of the superpowers that I've sort of learned, is that alone time, as you know very well, being alone was the worst torture that I could have ever thought of. And now when we talk, I'm like, it is good when it's, being alone is really a great experience. And it's growth. That's one of the growth. It's not, I still do prefer to be around people, and we need to interact. But there's a lot of times that I'm like, no, I would rather choose to be by myself, where I would never have done that. That's creating my boundaries. It's boundaries that are for me that might be different than for you. How do you identify your boundaries now? Because, your boundaries years ago might have been different than the boundaries now. Yeah.
It's really funny that you should ask that, because I've been, it's been up. It's really been up for me, because I've recently entered a space called Pathways Within, which is a counseling space and a holistic space, and I meet with people. And then I also am involved with other things. And I found that I was working 7 days a week. And I was telling myself, but it's my purpose. It's my purpose. I should be able to do this 7 days a week, because it's my joy and it's my purpose. And I realized this past weekend that I like to say yes a lot. I like to say yes when I feel, kind of have that mentality of a service person. Nobody should be left behind. And so much of my life, I experienced not being seen. And in my nervous system, the pain being associated with being left behind in some way, shape, or form. And so, of course, I try to be present when somebody is going through that, but also realizing that this past weekend, I was burnt out. And what does that look like? Like, I can't sustain what I do. I can't sustain what I do as far as just being present for myself if I keep on doing it this way. And I was talking to my son last night, and I'm like, my son's name is Maxwell. I'm like, okay, I've made a decision. I'm just not going to answer the phone on Saturdays anymore. Saturdays are mine. I'm just every morning I shoot out a text to 4 people. You're one of them, and someone and a few other people that I truly love. And there are 4 texts that I wake up and I do my meditation time, and those are my 4 texts. But other than that, unless something really extraordinary comes up, that's my day. That's a boundary that I'm going to be curious about and try out and see how it works out.
Yeah, no, that's a lesson that I've been learning with myself. That's how I've gotten as far as I have, is by having those boundaries and understanding what I need. And there's times I have a friend, my friend Tom, who calls all the time. He lives in California, and he goes, "What are you doing this weekend?" And until he recently just had a job change, he didn't understand that on the weekends, sometimes even though I want to finish my books, I want to do all these things, I'm telling you, I'm not doing anything. I am watching, Forrest Gump for the weekend, and I might watch it multiple times because, it's that for me, that visual safe piece. I don't want to think about anything. And you need to have that. And giving yourself that permission is so powerful.
It is. And I try to sculpt out times during the day that I'm really conscious about that. I'll go and I'll pet the dog, or I'll as I'm walking through the house, I'll sit with a singing bowl for a little while. And, those little check-ins that sustain me. But I notice that I just need one big block of stuff. And as I said, I'm just being curious about it. I think I'm trying it on to see how it fits. I'm not quite a day of me, for me, to me, maybe too much of me, even for me, probably for me. So there's a real possibility there, but I'm just gonna get curious and see what it's about and check it out a little bit.
Well, I think that's a great part is, because as you know, when you and Dr. Lee asked me, did I love myself? And I had a struggle with that answer. Now there's no struggle. It's yes. Am I happy with myself all the time? No. But the love for myself I get. And, what might make you happy today, and when you're alone with yourself and making time for yourself, that self-care is the most important thing that we can do for each other.
No, I disagree.
Okay. Tell me why.
I disagree. Compassion is the most important thing we can do for each other.
Wouldn't compassion be part of self-care?
No, I think self-care is part of compassion. I think it's flipped.
Okay. Why so? Why so?
I think, and this is something that I've recently learned. I'm taking a class with Gabor Mate, and it's really given me the opportunity to look at compassion very differently and look at what I thought forgiveness was really differently. And it's that sitting with yourself and being present with yourself. For me, it just tastes a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Like I was talking to somebody last night and I said, it's kind of like it's Spanish, but there are so many different dialects of Spanish. It's one of the dialects. And I'm finding from there, that's really where I'm sitting right now in my own life. That's the seed that's really seems to be the foundation of everything. Like that compassion is where I find such a depth of love. Mm. It allows me to see it differently.
Okay.
I mean, I can love as a 58-year-old. I can love as a 59-year-old. But when I find myself being triggered, or I find myself having trauma coming up or whatever, I've got to love the 5-year-old. And how do I do that? My access to that is I get so pissed at my 5-year-old because I say, hey, listen, you're 58 years old. It's only when I go in and sit with the 5-year-old and remember the 5-year-old and hold compassion for the 5-year-old that love seems to, that compassion softens everything so that love just leaches in fullness.
Okay, no, see that makes sense, and that's that Kluberty process. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
what I went in to look at back at the little David, that where he was hurt, and
Yeah.
why was he hurt, from that, to justify why he was hurt, but to understand how it was affecting me as a 50-year-old.
Yeah.
The 7-year-old David. So for me, there was a bunch of things at 7 when I realized it. It was the perfect storm of shit. I mean, let's be honest. Or at least in my world, it was the way that I saw things, and the then filter that I needed to clean to give. So I'll get you compassion, and to me, that's where I go. That self-love is when I understand what, for me, that little, well, you just said the 5-year-old, or for me, the 7-year-old, or whatever age people might have, you start understanding why they did things. And I went further back into my family and started giving permission, not permission, but understanding, a level of loving understanding what people were doing. Everybody does the best they can with the tools they have at the time that they are. It's the idea of growth and learning what tools work for us and don't work for us.
And sometimes that tool or that classroom is blowing everything to bits. Unfortunate. But sometimes that classroom is, I've got to blow everything to bits to rebuild the foundation.
Right.
And God knows you and I have been through that in different ways during our lifetime, and in different intensities. I think perhaps what you're going through when we lose somebody, something gets blown to bits. There are so many different ways that things get blown to bits. And it allows us to look at the foundation. It allows us to go back and re-look at the foundation. And again, it's cool.
It is cool. And that's the thing that I really want to tell everybody. Anybody who's listening, it really is cool not to necessarily blow up things, because nobody wants that, but a rebuilding process, and to look at it, how to rebuild it in a healthier way. And
yeah,
because you definitely build things better with a better foundation, right? We can pour the cement and rush to do things, and it'll still get you a foundation, but is that the foundation that you really truly who you are? And that's where, I mean, I was there in that point, and I know you've been that in your life. If you would like to share any of those Phoenix moments, what I call, or Kluberty moments. How the hell did I get here? Like, what the?
Well, I had a pretty, my current Phoenix moment is my partner of 25 years left the earth in October. And that's my current Phoenix moment is, going through life, having this partner, having this relationship. It was dependable when it was good. It was dependable when it was bad. We had built it. It was dependable. Not always not always the best, not always the worst, but it was ours. And having that now, not having that, it's a Phoenix moment. It's definitely arising from, I'm no longer a partner in the same way. That thing kind of got blown up.
Sure.
And it's discovering how I carry that archetype of partner with me now.
Mm.
So and also, how do you be? I have a 23-year-old son. How am I a mother now? How am I, how does this change my landscape? How does this modify my landscape as to how is it, why is it happening for me? Because I think that's really the thing with the Phoenix moments. And I don't, as I look back at life, there have been some pretty profound Phoenix moments, but it's only in so many respects now I'm able to see why it happened for me. Not that it happened to me, but why did it happen for me? And I think perhaps that's the largest Phoenix moment of all.
Yeah,
when you can go in and look at it and say, that happened for me. That was my classroom.
We'll be back in a moment.
This is John.
And Mark Cronin from
John's Crazy Socks.
And we're interrupting to say we hope you're enjoying this episode, but please make sure to check out our show, the Spreading Happiness Podcast, another great show produced by Launchpad 516 Studios. New episodes are available every week on all your favorite podcast platforms. Join us on our new podcast as we continue our mission, spreading happiness.
Thank you, folks.
You're listening to Peace, Love, and Bring It Back with me, Uncle Dave Shemetsky. Yeah, that's where I was leading to it. I mean, life is a classroom, and, there's a lesson in everything, even in the worst situation that you might have. And losing a partner is among the worst things that you can face. But you took it as a lesson. And, I know I'm just going to share, not too much, but, that you guys both allowed him to leave physically in a nicer way, in a kinder, loving way than, other ways that could have happened. A lot of things could have been done differently if there wasn't so much love around it.
Well, Michael had lived with cancer for 4 years, and it was supposed to be a really treatable cancer. And he was a son of a gun. He lived with cancer for 4 years and did a lot of experimental treatments. And it got to the end. He really wanted to be home. So we were able to, we did hospice at home, and he passed on an ordinary Saturday morning in an ordinary way. And he is an extraordinary soul. And, I came down to have coffee. I went to have coffee. I came back in to, do our morning routine of meds and everything else. And he had passed away. And it was just, it was beautiful. It was so simple. He was on the couch with the dogs. That's what he wanted. So, and to be able, it's not the way that everybody should do it. It's absolutely not. But it's the way that we chose to do it. And it was really a gift.
Well, I think that's what it is.
Really
We get to make some of those choices along our life. And, that's those boundaries and non-negotiables that I talk about. But, you guys were also very open, and communication was important, especially at the end. You guys said a lot of the things that you might wanted to say to give you a sort of grace or peace on either end.
We had started doing that we had honestly started doing that. This coronavirus was a real blessing for us because we were stuck with each other. We didn't have a choice but to talk with each other. And that was really, we were very, very lucky that we had that time to, I certainly did not have a classic partnership at all. But we really had the time to talk it out, and we really had the time to see, the things that we complained about, the things that we didn't like, really, again, they happened for us. Everything was set up so that we could heal different parts of ourselves, not knowing that we picked the partner that you could do this with. So to look back on it and kind of do the slideshow in reverse and say, oh, that's why we chose to do it that way. Or, oh, that was the purpose that served, even though it was bloody painful and I really didn't like you at the time. And I'm still not liking the pain associated with, but I could see why that happened for us. So we were both really, really lucky that we had from that point forward to really focus on our classroom together, that we had chosen our life together, our classroom together.
Yeah, well, I love that you always go back to the classroom because that's what life is. And, there are no mistakes, just classrooms, right?
Yeah. And I sucked at it. I mean, I basically almost failed out of school so many times. So to use that word now, I mean, I had when I was in 4th grade, Mrs. Noonan. And oh, I hated it, Mrs. Noonan's way of teaching, because you would walk in after break and there would just be, we had 6 blackboards. All the entire walls were blackboards, and it would just be a litany of words. And she would want you to copy them all down. And I would just scribble and stash my notebooks. And I almost failed because during parent teacher night, she showed my mother my wonderful scribble fest. And so I was not a real school person. So I was not a real good classroom person. So the fact that I use that analogy through my life right now, it's kind of like a kick me moment.
Sure, of course.
It's like, what am I doing?
But it is, when we look at life as a classroom and where the lessons are, you also get more gratitude and you get to see a lot more beautiful things.
Yeah, you really do. You get to slow it down. I knew a person once that said that they would watch grass grow. They would sit there in presence and actually watch grass grow. I guess I have an appreciation now as to what that looks like in my life.
Sure.
And not only watching the grass grow, but thinking of, the colors and the green, and where does the green come from? And, the chlorophyll, where does the chlorophyll, like seeing beyond the seeing. And that's a really simply lovely life. When I'm able to claim those moments, slow myself down and claim those moments, quite extraordinary.
Yeah, well, I think that's what it is, as you just said. Bringing that into yourself, and only you can see the colors that you see. You and I could be sitting in the same room and having a different experience, or having a similar experience, but your experience is still unique to just you.
Oh, absolutely. Because my classroom is unique to me. My lessons are unique to me. My woundings are unique to me. My traumas are unique to me. Because, trauma is not the point that something happens or the event. Trauma is how we digest that moment, how that encodes in us, and then doesn't get to go through all the way. It kind of gets stuck there. And that's what it is. Those feelings and that muck and all of that stuff gets really, really stuck. That speed bump becomes a part of who we are until we get curious about it.
Well, that's the thing is digging through that muck. Most people would just say, that's muck, I'm not cleaning that up. And they're happy with the little pile of muck. And some people do clean it. How do you clean it? Because I know that I want to hear about your new opportunity. So I'd love to hear about, all the opportunities that you want to do. I know the classroom has now a new meaning as well, but I'd love to hear about it.
And thank you so much for asking. Classroom is amazing. As I said, I have joined an incredible group of individuals, a lot of which I've known for like a decade. It's so hard to believe. Really amazing individuals. I am not a social worker or a certified clinician. In fact, I'm a certified peer worker. And a lot of certified peer workers only get to work in not-for-profits. It's how our system is set up at this point. I'm hoping it will change, but it's how it is. To my knowledge, I am the first peer that has been asked to work within a clinical with social workers and clinicians in private sector. So, which is amazing. It says a lot about the individuals that I collaborate with professionally. So that's amazing. And I am going to be running groups and doing work with, and I'm not going to be, I do this. Presently, I am doing this. Wow.
I statements are always powerful.
I had to claim that a moment. It's pretty cool. I'm doing sound work. I'm doing frequency work. I'm doing self-discovery work. I'm sitting and holding space with people. I'm doing both. I'm working one-on-one, or people have the choice of working with me one-on-one, and using found poetry and using altered books and sound to start being curious, and having a partner to collaborate with that's just kind of hang out with them and be involved in that discovery process. So working a lot with grief and self-care, and getting to know yourself, and getting to know all the languages that you talk, all the languages that you absorb. You absorb the language of sound. You absorb the language of frequency. You absorb the language of all of that stuff. So again, getting curious as to your relationship with all of those things.
Yeah, it's really incredible when you, again, you know, when you first met me, talking about any of this, I was like, sure, Stacy, no problem. You know, and now I'm like, all right, you know, I haven't had a sound bath in a while. I don't smell, but you know,
come on over. Yeah, it's really cool. It's very non-judgmental. You know, it's a really beautiful space. It's such a compassionate space. That it's just such a compassionate space. And you just walk out feeling different. You know, even if you feel the same, you feel different in the same, if that somehow makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
Right. I mean, it's growth. And, you know, like when people, you know, and again, you introduced me to acupuncture. You know, I have friends who
game changer, isn't it?
Yeah, some people go, well, does it work? Yeah. I go, I can't tell you it works or doesn't. Like, you know, I don't walk out of there, but I can tell you, after spending the half hour to hour on my time, on my, you know, I feel differently. And so, is it psychologically? Because that was where they were going with it. You know, is it just, you know, mind over matter? Yeah, maybe, but. It also goes back to the point of bringing everything back to yourself. It's time that I've made, no matter what, I need, you know, some time, reset, right? We have our reset buttons as I teach that. And that's one of the really powerful pieces of that growth, that we could never have been who we were, or we can't be who we are now, which is more important than who we were. It's who we are now.
You can never be who you were. It changes every moment. It's not like you can grab your last breath and repeat it. And that's also something I do a lot of deep work with an extraordinary professional practitioner in Florida. Her name is Lonnie Mathis, and she's just an amazing human being. And it's what we have been discovering is just living in flow. And just realizing that if you're in the flow, you don't have to think a hell of a lot. You know, it's everything is, if you're in the flow, everything is right in front of you. Mm-hmm. Everything is right in front of you. What do you choose to do about it?
Well, that's that whole, you know, we talked about before about muck, right? So do you want to flow in muddy water, or would you like to flow in clearer water? And it's a choice, and we don't realize it until you start doing it. As I told you, you know, bodily wise, I'm probably about the same size that I was, you know, years ago, but I feel so much lighter because I've changed the water, the patterns, the flow patterns about it. So about with Pathways Within, I know you're going to have sound, you're going to have all these really cool things.
Yeah. Well, we have a website, pathwayswithin.me, www.pathwayswithin.me. Please go up on it. We have the person who has the organization, who runs the organization, Rachel Lazard, is somewhat I professionally respect a great deal, and someone who I love a great deal. And I'm really lucky that the people that I work with, it's really nice when you can do both of those in the same space, love and both be professional. It's very cool. And so this website is there. And if you're curious and you want to work with me, you can absolutely schedule time to sit with me and work with me. We have 5 offices on Long Island. We have space in all those places. I am going to be running groups. That stuff is going to be posted soon. I will be starting small groups in Smithtown and Massapequa in 4-session groups having to do with the topics of grief, trauma, sound. And I'll be starting those collaboratives. I believe we're slated to start those in April, go through April and May. And then kind of retool them because I know summer is coming and, we're going to want to be outside. So seeing how that'll work within people's schedules and all. But certainly would love if anybody thinks that, Stacy, what is my nickname? Do I have a nickname from you?
You don't.
Oh, no.
No, you're safe. No, it's just Stacy. I'm like, so in that container of Stacy, there's so much that it doesn't. You're sort of like Madonna. It's just a one name. It's it's just Stacy. So
to live up to. Okay,
but
I could.
There's no one name because, and what's great. I mean, again, I'll share with everybody. So meeting Stacy in person. When she's doing her work is just an incredible experience. But it also changes. So she had once come to work a corporate experience, and I'm like, oh boy, I knew who Stacy is, and I enjoy Stacy, and like bringing her into a corporate experience that I live in, I'm like, okay, I trust my friend, and we're friends, family, and she came in and just blew them away. They still talk about her in the most positive way and that's having that open mind. And, we could all be something that we are because we're all those pieces of it. If we only look at Stacy, and that's why I wouldn't, that's why when you call me Uncle Dave, it's just, when you explained it, you were just like, it's just Uncle Dave. There's no explanation. You could tell the story. Thank you. You can tell, you can tell the story but it just is. Stacy's just Stacy. And I enjoy Stacy. So I know we've used a lot of time, but I definitely want to. So I always do the R and heart, and the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because I loved your answer. I cracked my ass up when I said I always prep my guests for the audience.
I had no idea what you were. So before. David and I have known each other for 6 years, and we've been family for 6 years. And, we've been through the best of classrooms. We've been through the worst of classrooms. Wives coming, husbands coming, husbands going, all sorts of things. Kids coming, kids going. And so before I sat with him this morning. He said, well, I usually send out this questionnaire. So I said, okay. He said, I don't know if we need it. I said, oh, but send it out anyway. So he sent me this questionnaire. And on this questionnaire, I tried not to be too Stacy. Oh, by the way, what I do, thank you for bringing it up. What I do individually, I also do for businesses. So Pathways Within, if your business is looking for work around trauma in the workplace or compassion in the workplace, we actually do go in and we run these blocks of time that can support that experience. Back to the questionnaire. So he sends me this questionnaire. I'm like, I can't be too Stacy because I can tend to be a lot of Stacy, but I was really good until this question. I thought I was really good until this question. And I was like, okay, I got nothing. So
yes, we always talk about grounding and that there's an R in your heart. could you share, if the audience couldn't have heard earlier, or the whistling earlier, can you tell us what your R is?
Rough. I have 4 rescue dogs and a frog. Mike and I were big proponents of rescue dogs, and we have a Tibetan Spaniel. That was Michael's dog. We have Mushka, who you're hearing her whistling. Mushka is our dog with anxiety. We have Wookie, who is a working dog, who everybody knows. And then we just recently, right before Mike passed, brought Kirk into our household. And Kirk is a dog with a neurological disorder. So, and he smiles constantly. He's part Chihuahua, and he's just going to be the most interesting, ugly old dog. And then we also have a frog named Michael that we got after Mike passed away. So I was able to carry my Prince Charming with me. So he hangs out in the kitchen with me. So yes. Oh, I could have also said Ribbit. Ooh, can I have 2 R's?
Sure, you can have as many R's as you want, because there's so many R's in your heart. Yeah, okay. So
Ribbit, Wrangler. That's a W. I don't know.
Renegade. See, Renegade. I've been using Rebel, Renegade.
No.
No, it's not. I'm just saying some R's. Rainbow.
Rainbows. Ratata. Ratatouille.
There you go. I knew we'd get you started. See, that's, I have to say, like, okay, all this at the beginning, let's be really honest. You were like professional, you're like trying to give me the right answers, thinking about it. I was like, no, I want Stacy. This is what I want.
Pum. No, I can't.
See,
I can't stop.
Isn't it so much fun?
Now I can't stop. Yeah. Yeah, but rough is still the one that keeps on rough. That's still the one that keeps on. Yeah.
I love it, man. No, that's excellent. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate you taking your time, and I always want you here. So anytime you want to come back, please, let's make it happen. The great thing, right? We've been talking about this for a while. When I first met you, remember I was talking to Mike when we went to Oz. Stacy has this amazing individual location that I call Oz. You walk through her garage, and you're like, it looks like a garage. And then you walk in, you open the door, and it's exactly like that moment going from black and white to color in The Wizard of Oz. And it's where the gongs are. It's her workspace for her. She's an amazing artist, and she puts her love into everything. And so you walk into Oz, and you're like, oh my God, this would be great for my On the Path, right? All the stuff that we were talking about on the Path, which eventually became, I guess, Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. And there's so many different ways to do that. And we've been doing this for such a long time. I can't wait to bring you back to get Stacy and to hear about how, the Pathways Within project is working. And, Rachel's amazing. She's taking over Long Island.
She's just incredible. And I really hope, I really hope that, I really, really hope that I'm sorry. I really, really hope that if someone is at a place in their life, good, bad, or indifferent, but they're at a place where they've sat with us for this time, and they think, that lady might be cool to sit with. I think that she could hold my space. I think that she's a compassionate being. That'd be pretty freaking amazing. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry. That'd be pretty freaking amazing. Because that's it. That's it for me. There's nothing else for me. That's it for me.
Well, I can tell you from my friend, you are pretty freaking amazing. And,
Thank you.
And you know how much I truly love you, how much you being in my life has meant so much. And for everybody else, we'll end the episode. Just want to wish you peace and love, whatever that means to you. And when you're bringing a bat, really, just make sure it's non-negotiable. Swing away and hit that hard. I know, Stacy's laughing. I can see the video. She didn't like the idea of bring a bat. Let's be really honest.
Hate it.
But
Hate it.
she's warming up to it in a different way. Because actually, you asked for the Uncle Dave T-shirt when I
did.
gave you. Yep,
I did. I absolutely did.
I'm like, you want a picture of me on your?
I do.
I love it.
Right there. It just went right there. Right on my heart. Just right there.
I love you. And
I love you too.
Thank you so much for being in my heart. Wishing everybody again peace and love. And when you're bringing a bat, swing away, hit your sweet spot, and I wish you a home run. Have a great day. I'm really glad that you're enjoying our show. Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat is brought to you by Launchpad 516 Studios. Executive produced by David Chemetsky and George Andriopoulos. Music selections by James Grant, Zach Nelson, and James Gaither, and licensed through Storyblock. Sound effects and sponsorship music licensed through Epidemic Sound. Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat is hosted with Podbean. Subscribe to our show wherever podcasts are available. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and share with all of your friends. Follow us on Facebook at Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. Follow me, Uncle Dave Shemetsky, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Clubhouse. You can find all those links and more info at davidchemetsky.com. For show ideas, feedback, guest inquiries, or just to chat, reach out to me at peacelovebringabat@gmail.com. For sponsorship and media inquiries, reach out to peacelovebringabat@lp516.com. Make sure to follow all the great podcasts produced by Launchpad 516 Studios. Today's journey has come to a close, my friend. I hope the seeds of peace and love continue to grow for each one of you. Remember that peace and love surrounds you and will assist you to rise again. But don't forget to bring it back for what you believe in. Namaste.